If you hate Hallmark, you love watching them, but they are absolutely ridiculously stupid, you've come to the right place. Hey guys, my name is Alanna, and today we are talking about Perfect on Paper, the 2014 Hallmark movie. In the loosest terms possible. Now, grab a seat. I have my notes, and I have a lot of opinions. So buckle up. Now we meet our girl in some nondescript office and she is typing, which is fascinating because we have already had 2 writers. I'm going to make a spreadsheet of all of our Hallmark protagonist girl jobs. So far, 2 writers. Now her name is irrelevant because with this review, we are going to be calling her our girl. She is our Hallmark protagonist. Now we find out she is late to dinner even though it looks like it's the middle of the day. She does say a line which was great. She says something along the lines of,
"This is an incredibly important book. It actually reminds me of why I got into publishing in the first place."
That's good writing. Now we learn that she is some kind of like editor. So writer, maybe not quite the right term, but in that sort of world, you know, she's an editor at this publishing company, and we believe it to be Portland, which is our second movie based in Portland. It's a small world, I guess. Portland and writers, Hallmark can't get enough of them. So we leave our girl and we cut to this other woman with a headset on. I haven't seen these headsets. I don't know if I've ever actually seen one in person. I've only ever seen them in like low budget movies, but she's on this headset thing and she's trying to find an editor for an upcoming book. And there's 2 women in particular in this scene who look so young, like in the face, with the hairstyle of an elderly woman. I don't know who did the hair on this movie, but they should be fired. Now we leave the high-powered ladies in the office and we cut back to our girl. She was running late to that dinner. She's meeting her boyfriend, we learn, of 6 months, and they're getting together to celebrate his promotion. He was offered a promotion, how exciting, but what does he do? We'll take one look at him. Of course, he turns it down because he doesn't want to be like a corporate shill. One thing that stood out to me, and I think it is an important lesson to everyone, he has too many necklaces. Girly, that is a sexual predator. Now, while wooden flutes play, yes, that is not a joke, windpipe flute music plays, okay? And he says he's rejected the job offer and he's going to go to Peru to find himself.
So I decided what I really need to do with my life is go to Machu Picchu.
Like, Peru?
What about their relationship? Well, he's gonna give her a good deal on subletting his apartment. Love is dead. At this point, we find out that the headset woman is actually an old friend of our girl. And the headset woman offers our girl a job to edit this book. She's trying to find this editor. Guess what? Our girl is a book editor and she needs to be out in LA. In LA? Why does that sound weird? She needs to go to LA by the next day. And here's our story. So our girl flies to LA and meets up with the long-term friend and the friend's husband. And the 2 girlies are outside around a fire pit, gossiping as you will. And here comes sort of one of our, I'd say there's 2 plots, 2 sort of conflicts in this movie. And this is one of them. The friend is explaining to our girl that she has terrible choice in men. She always picks the bad ones.
Yep, sure know how to pick them.
That's a problem, sweetie, you don't.
Ouch.
I just happen to believe that before you get romantically involved with someone that you should take a look at all his attributes, his goals, his ambitions, how seriously he takes his responsibilities.
In other words, the guy you're dating can't just look good in a pair of jeans. He's got to look good on paper.
They said it, the title of the movie. So basically we've got 2 plots to this film. 1, our girl is editing this book, more on that shortly. And 2, she can't date a poor person. No pores allowed. The next day we get a montage of her trying to find an apartment, and there's lots of like crowds and traffic and people everywhere. And she's going to all these places and none of them are great. And it's just like loud and there's people. The only thing missing is the homeless. Homeless people don't exist in the Hallmark cinematic universe. Okay, then we get this scene that I found so baffling, but maybe it's just me. She's sitting on a bench. So she's tired, she's seen all these properties and they all suck. And she sits on the bench and she throws her coffee over her shoulder and it hits a man in the bushes. Yes, this is our love interest. Can you believe it? And then somehow she falls on top of him in the bushes in the dirt. There's a lot to take in this one scene. And she says to him that she's looking for this one bed apartment, but all of them are bad or expensive or they're unclean. She just wants a nice one bed apartment. And he goes,
Like this?
Oh.
You want to take a look?
and boom, what do you know? He somehow has access to this apartment. We find out his name is Cooper. She has a look at the place and likes it. It's not clear who this man is. Like, he doesn't say he's the landlord. He talks about the landlord as like a separate person. But he somehow has access to this property. I don't know. We're just gonna go with it. But maybe, ladies, if you find a man in the bushes and he brings you to an abandoned apartment, maybe bring a friend. Or maybe just say no, you know? Now, okay, here's another thing about Cooper. And I don't want to be mean. But also, I'm about to be mean because I can do whatever I want. This is YouTube. Nothing matters. Cooper has the face of a porn star and he will not stop doing this like smoky eye facial expression. He does it the entire movie. It's almost like somebody told him that he looks good when he does it, or like they've directed him to like be sexy, and he just will not stop doing this face. So she decides to take this apartment. She's dealing with Cooper, like giving her lease and stuff. We still don't know what this man does. It's kind of alluded that maybe he's like a janitor, maybe he's like a gardener or something because he was in the bushes. But we are trusting this strange man with our renting agreement. This doesn't seem right. Now we finally get our second plot, if you will. So our girl goes to the publishing firm Goldstein Publishing, which is owned by the friend. So the friend owns this firm, and she goes into the office in the morning and everybody is freaking out because a crazy author is coming in, Beverly Wilcox. And it's all chaos and everybody's running around and they're trying to like redesign the office in a way that is pleasing to Beverly. She arrives, wonderful, she wants champagne. Yes, me too, if it's on offer. Now this is unrelated, but did you guys ever watch Yellowstone? I loved the first few seasons and then it got really silly and then it was like half canceled and now it's come back, but I didn't go back and watch it. It doesn't matter. However, there is a person in Yellowstone, Beth. This, to me, looks like Beth, but 90 with more plastic surgery. I could not get Beth out of my mind whenever I saw this woman. It's like maybe it was Beth's mom or something. Like, I will literally die on this hill. They look identical to me. So we then get Beverly and our girl go out to lunch at this very bougie, fancy lunch place. And we see Beverly yell at the waitstaff. So you know she's a good person.
Excuse me, I asked for the baby tomato to be placed under the aioli mayonnaise, not on top.
Well,
why is it so difficult for you service people to follow simple instructions? No, just leave it. It took you so long to bring us lunch. I'm afraid I wouldn't see you again till breakfast. Just go.
Did I already say? So Beverly and our girl are out to lunch because our girl is going to edit Beverly's new book. Did I mention that? I'm mentioning it now. And Beverly does these like very like romance looking things, you know, with a man on the cover and his shirt's like ripped open, like that kind of stuff. We love it. Anyway, in this lunch sequence, we get the film's only flashback, which was so jarring and weird. It never happens again. It only happens this one time. And Beverly is asking our girl, which of Beverly's books is her favorite? Now we learn that she has not read any of them. She looks down on this kind of romance novel because she's, you know, big city girly. This isn't real literature, whatever. So she has a flashback to one time when she saw one of Beverly's books. That's the only one that she knows of. So she says that book.
Which of my books is your favorite? It's an unfair question, I know, but if you had to choose.
Embrace of Passion.
But it was so fascinating. This is the only flashback. in this whole movie. It's just this one time. Cue rant from Beverly about how shit our girl is. This Beverly character, Beverly loves a rant. And you know what, girl, me too. However, our girl stands up for herself, which we love to see. She sets boundaries. You know what? Good for you. And she storms out of the bougie lunch place, walks out on Beverly. But obviously, Beverly kind of loves this. Beverly loves a bit of drama. Do you know what I mean? She wears the eyeliner of a woman who loves to rant and loves a bit of drama. So we find out that Beverly wants our girl to edit her book, even with the big storm out, and they have 30 days to do it. And we learn that the Friends publishing company, Goldstein Publishing, will fail, will go bankrupt, will go under if this book deal thing doesn't work out. Because Beverly's like super famous, this book is gonna sell loads. If the company, the publishing company, for some reason can't do it because she's really difficult to work with, the company will go under. So we have our stakes. Now our girl is moving into her new apartment and Cooper catches her while she's moving in and he helps her move in this chair. This is literally what Ted Bundy used to do, okay? We need to like smarten up, ladies. Have we learned nothing from our obsession of true crime? You never help someone with a chair. Cooper asks out our girl. Love to see that. But the girl's friend suddenly shows up. Surprise, everybody's at her house. And the friend's like, oh no, she's got a deadline. She needs to be working. So they do this like rain check on the date, right? But Cooper looks pissed as like a grown man. Like, sorry she has a job and she has obligations. Like, calm down. We cut to the friend, the publishing company owner friend, who is kind of, again, talking about how her friend, is so bad at picking men and she needs help and I'm gonna help her and whatever. And she's on a dating website for our girl. And the URL is somebodydateme.com. And guess what? I went to it. So it actually redirects you to a website known as Pixel, with no E. And there is a little blurb on the front page and I'd love to read it to you. So the website is described as the first true family safe movie channel featuring original movies and miniseries that inspire, entertain, and touch the heart. How fun. Anyway, we see our girl sitting on her couch. She's got this huge stack of papers and she's editing, obviously, but she's like sat there like hunched over, like, girl, I get it. I have terrible posture, but my God, you're gonna hurt yourself. But for some reason, she looks outside and then ultimately goes outside in the middle of the night, seemingly, and there is this little neighborhood kid and Cooper playing basketball in the literal dark. Does this kid not have a parent or a guardian? We're just outside here with this random man. So at this point we get some exposition that the kid hates books and loves movies. And so she says to him basically like, I'm gonna pick some books for you to read and see if you like them because books are important, blah, blah, blah. This like subplot really isn't important, but it shows our girl is kind. And then she leaves this poor child with this strange man playing basketball in the middle of the night. The next day, when our girl gets to the office, Beverly is already there and she is livid. She's expecting our girl to basically be like a personal assistant. So not only is she editing the book, but she needs to be on call like 24/7. She needs to set up her appointments, book her reservations for lunch, pick up her dry cleaning, and Beverly gives her this sparkly pink phone. And this unlocked a core memory for me. I remember like the high school bullies, like the really scary girls, had phones like this, at least in my high school. We love a bit of trauma. And it's at this point that we learn there is a big charity event that night that Beverly and our girl are going to. What is it, you may ask? Well, it's the Bookbinders event. Obviously, it's the biggest event in publishing. And at this point, I was so hoping that we're gonna get a dress montage. I love a fashion montage. Hallmark loves them too. I love them. They love them. I was really hopeful because this is like a ball, right? Beverly's saying this is an important event. You have to dress up. And guess what? We get a mall montage. One thing that I find really fascinating about Hallmarks, and if you've watched a lot of them like myself, maybe you've picked this up, but There are different like eras of Hallmark. So this is 2014. I would consider this sort of early Hallmark. And these movies tend to be like a bit more risque, like in the loosest terms. But you tend to see like more skin. You might see like cleavage. There might be kissing, like all of that kind of stuff, which is kind of unheard of in the later Hallmarks, like 2018. You don't see cleavage, you don't see a lot of skin, and there's usually only one kiss at the very end. This rant came to me because when we finished this fashion montage, our girl ends up with her dress, and it is a lot of skin for the Hallmark cinematic universe. Even a little bit of cleavage, which is shocking, I know. Now back at our girl's apartment, they're finishing getting ready. We don't see her, we just see the like publishing friend who's helping her get ready. Cooper pops in because he wants those books for the kid. It doesn't really matter, he just needs to be there, right? To see her made up, so that's how we make that happen. And he says something to the friend, which I thought was really weird. He says something like, "Oh, the boss."
Oh, hello.
The boss.
And at this point, I kind of assumed that Cooper is the landlord, but for some reason doesn't want her to know that he's the landlord for whatever reason, but it's not really explained. He's just always around. But if he is the landlord, should he not be giving 24-hour notice to just randomly show up at this woman's apartment? Yes, he should. And here again is our sort of second plot point conflict thing, right? She has to date someone who is rich. She has to date someone who is good on paper. Get it? So Cooper is shown as like the maintenance janitor, kind of surfer guy. They refer to him as a surfer guy a lot of times, where he's just kind of like everywhere. He seems to not really have a job, but he is obviously beneath her because he is poor. And my guess was that he will only become attractive when we find out that he ultimately owns the apartment building or whatever. But more on that later. Now Cooper does catch her all dressed up. So in the apartment, she was hidden away like in the bathroom or whatever. And he catches her finally as she's like going to this event. He sees her all dressed up and she's gorgeous. And he says this thing that, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but it really creeped me out.
What's that for?
I have a bad habit. Every time I see a beautiful woman, I can't help but give her a flower.
And how long have you had this habit?
5 seconds.
Respectfully, what the fuck? So we arrive at the charity event with Beverly and our girl, and there's some people there, not loads, but like enough to make the room look full. Do you know what I mean? They don't have a lot of budget for extras. And here is where we meet our second love interest. Now, I 100% thought that this was Cooper just dressed nicely, like done his hair, dressed up nice, but it's not. And I could not believe this is another person. They look identical to me. It's just like this nondescript white man. Anyway, this guy finds our girl very intriguing. She's talking about books and he has this kind of weird look on his face. Great. Anyway, we find out that our second love interest that looks suspiciously like our first love interest, we found out his name is Bob and he is a lawyer in LA, and he immediately makes some sort of comment of something being a tax write-off, so we know he's disgusting. And our girl tries to run away from him at this event, but he corners her so he can continue talking about himself. Yes, we love disgusting men.
Oh, can I?
New York.
I'm sorry?
Oh, you were gonna ask where I'm from, I hope.
After getting dropped off back home, it's like late at night, the girl, I guess, is hungry or something. So rather than going home, she runs across the street to this like bar restaurant, kind of like dive bar called Nikki's. And what does she order? Can you guess? You're never gonna guess.
Coffee?
Yes, please.
Okay. Special of the house tonight is burger, or burger, and we're all out of the first two.
I'll take the burger.
A coffee and a burger. It's like midnight. What are you doing? Anyway, surprise, Cooper is working in the kitchen. Well, no, it's very clear he doesn't work there. He's just helping out. He seems to just be everywhere. And here she makes a comment about dating and something about like, she hasn't been on a date since Portland, but she's been in LA for literally like 3 days. So why don't you just like calm down a little bit? But then Cooper says something that was very like Pinterest motivational quote about something about like, you have to chase what you want, or you have to go after what you really want.
When you know what you want, you gotta go after it, right? I'll go get you that burger.
And he goes back into the kitchen, and before he can serve her, she walks out. It's not really explained why, like she's just obviously gonna go home. It's not like what he said inspired her to do something. It's like she literally just walks out and goes home. Like, girl, you gotta pay for that. The next day, Bob shows up at her apartment with flowers and a convertible. And he says he just bought the convertible like that morning to impress her. I guess at this point, we are just gonna overlook all of the red flags, right? It doesn't matter. And he takes her to seemingly the only restaurant in LA. It's that same lunch place. For some reason, is like the only lunch place in the city. LA is small, okay, what can you do? And over lunch, our girl explains to Bob that she thinks Beverly could be a really good writer. Like there's good writing technique or whatever underneath all this shitty romance books that she's been writing. But every time our girl makes an edit or makes a suggestion, Beverly pushes back and basically says no. And Bob says something really, again, I found it quite creepy, but maybe it's just looking at him makes my skin crawl. He says something about like,
If it wasn't for Beverly Wilcox, I would never have met you.
yikes. Bob is like the kind of man you dread to meet in an alleyway. We get another scene of our girl editing the book, which is kind of like the whole point of this movie. She's supposed to edit this book. We don't get many of these scenes. It's mainly her dating, but we do get this one. And it's like late at night, it's dark outside. And for some reason, she looks out the window and what does she see? Cooper in the parking lot waxing his surfboard. I wish that was a joke. So at this point, I have 2 questions. Number 1, why does she look outside? Because waxing a surfboard is not that noisy. She didn't see anything out like the corner of her eye. She just gets up and she just looks out the window. And number 2, why the fuck are you waxing a surfboard in the middle of the night in a parking lot like a serial killer? Our girl suggests a fairly decent edit, like a fairly sizable edit to Beverly about her book, and Beverly loses it. She freaks out. All I can see is Beth in a big wig. Bob is there for some reason and he's taking her out to lunch. I have never known anyone to go out to lunch as much as these people. And of course it's the same lunch place because there's only one lunch place in LA. But what's more shocking in this scene is that they kiss so nonchalantly that's just kind of like thrown in. And this would be unheard of in 2019 Hallmark. The kiss only happens at the end. So count your lucky stars, you get an early kiss. How fun. And from a serial killer, no less. Anyway, there's a throwaway line about how it's been weeks or they've been dating for weeks. That's good writing. And somebody mentions how, well, he's better than that surfer janitor.
He seems very nice.
Trust me, anything's better than that surfing janitor she was after last month.
So again, great writing. So our girl and Bob pull up in the convertible, obviously, the same lunch place, obviously. And I kid you not, I wish this was a joke, but it's not. Across the road from this apparently extremely fancy lunch spot where all the famous people go, across the road is a mini golf course. And of course, Cooper is playing mini putt with the random black kid again. Why is this kid not in school? I don't know. Now it's very clear that Bob does not want to miss his reservation. You know, he's got his priorities in order and he wants lunch. And seeing Cooper and Bob speak to each other, honestly, these look identical. These men are twins. It's never mentioned, nobody says anything about it, but to me, they look identical. And we get this really awkward, weird argument between Cooper and Bob, which just, yikes.
You know, you guys can come play with us if you want. Oh, that is a tempting offer, but...
Yeah, I don't think Bob's a mini putt type.
What's that supposed to mean?
Nothing. You just don't seem like the kind of guy who has time for fun.
Coop,
Besides, they're eating at one of the most exclusive restaurants in town. Probably took them a month to get a reservation.
Actually, I know the owner.
Really? I'm impressed.
So in order to settle our differences, what do we do as grown men? We enter into a mini putt competition. And personally, I would be pissed. I don't ever miss lunch, okay? I have nothing in common with people who forget to eat. Like, I don't know what that's like. I would be pissed. I've left work to have lunch, and now I'm stuck playing mini putt with these two losers who are both creepy in their own way, and they look identical. Like, girl, I am hungry. We get like a little montage, and then it's the final hole, and somebody says like, Cooper needs to get this to win, and Bob is like, let's make this more interesting, and they're gonna bet on this hole, and like, who does this? Obviously, it is a plot point because we want to reinforce the idea that Bob has money to gamble with and Cooper does not. But there is a literal sign at a children's mini putt golf course that gambling isn't allowed. When I saw that, I just screamed. Insane. This whole thing is insane. Next up, our girl is editing the book by some random pool. I don't know if this is like the apartment pool. It's not really explained and it doesn't matter. So who cares? And of course, Cooper, who seemingly doesn't have a job, and the kid who seemingly doesn't go to school are there, and they make a comment about how they're going to help at the community garden. And Cooper says something really passive aggressive like, our girl's not gonna wanna go because she's too busy.
Don't bother Miss Holland, Eli. She has a deadline. She doesn't have time for stuff like this.
I'll get my shoes.
And it's like, he seems so angry at people who have jobs. Like, sorry she's employed and she has a deadline. Like, I don't understand why he's so mad all the time. But at the community garden, we find out that it was Cooper's idea to start it and to maybe perhaps donate the money towards it. So we're getting like little glimpses like, ooh, maybe he's got money. And there's this really weird dialogue. So earlier on, our girl says this saying about something about having a tan.
You can't change the world while getting a tan.
Now, I have never heard this saying before. I thought maybe it was just like a Hallmark thing. I don't know. I've literally never heard that. But at the community garden, the kid mentions that Cooper has said the same saying.
Do you and Coop work on it much?
You kidding? We come here all the time. He's the one who started this whole thing. The community garden was his idea.
Really?
Yeah. He says, where else can you change the world while getting a tan?
Is it just me? Like, I've never heard this saying before. I don't get it. I don't get where, is this a famous saying? Like, are we supposed to know the saying? I don't know. It's just weird. The three of them get lunch at a food truck and they're sitting on the curb and it's like, wow, this food is so good. Like, and Cooper is, again, really passive aggressive to the girl, being like, you know, I know it's not as fancy as the stuff that you're used to.
I think it's important to have good food available in a neighborhood like this. Not everyone can afford Crawford's, you know?
Thank you for today and for showing me around.
You're welcome. It wasn't exactly the type of places you're used to, but
there's just like so much passive aggressive nonsense from this man, okay? Like, if this was my experience, I'm just gonna walk home. And even after all of the passive aggressive comments, they kiss. First they kiss on the cheek, and then they kiss for real. And again, I really have to emphasize, this does not happen in 2019, 2018 Hallmark Cinematic Universe. This is like so unheard of. Beverly then calls our girl for a meeting, and they meet at the top of this park. And Beverly basically screams at our girl over her recent edits, because the girl is editing this book like quite heavily, and Beverly hates that. And she screams at her about how she's such a shit editor. And it's like, this could have been an email, but now we're in this park. Great. Now we gotta walk home. And this is, I think, my favorite shot in this entire movie, is Beverly gets up to walk away after her tirade. Beverly loves a rant. And as Beverly gets up and walks out, it is the most obvious green screen.
Well, I've had just about enough of your integrity. If my manuscript is not restored to its original form and submitted as complete, I will leave Goldstein Publishing. Oh, good. Well, enjoy the walk back down. Watch out for the dog poop.
I just love it. Next up is apparently the most important meal in LA, lunch. Again, this time Bob and our girl are at Nikki's, that dive bar, and Bob is enjoying his burger. He says something about how if they make the patties smaller, they would have more profit.
They could probably shave off about 1/3 and increase their profit margins by 20%.
Literally insane dialogue. Now, our girl, of course, is still working on this book, all right? She's still editing this book, and she's talking to Bob about how she really thinks that with some serious edits, the book could be really good. But Beverly is so against all these edits and it like freaks out and stuff that it doesn't seem possible. And Bob basically encourages her to stand up to Beverly and do the edit anyway, even though Beverly is threatening to pull her book from this publishing firm, which would then, the firm would shut down, the friend would lose everything. But Bob is really insistent you should stand your ground, stand up to Beverly, do the edits that you want, even though she's threatening to leave. So our girl takes Bob's advice and she sends the edited manuscript, like to get printed or something. Microsoft Outlook. Gross. And Cooper is outside playing basketball alone again. Something is wrong with this man. Now, the next day at the office, we find out that Beverly is pissed and super angry that our girl went behind her back and decided she's gonna follow through with her threat, and she's pulling her book from this firm, which means the friend's firm is done. So our girl is like, I'm gonna talk to Beverly, I'm gonna fix this. I don't know what she thinks she's gonna do, but sure, honey, go ahead and try. And our girl finds Beverly, guess where? The lunch place. The lunch place that she apparently lives at. Well, rich people love lunch, I guess. I wouldn't know. But guess what? Beverly is at the lunch place with Bob, who is not a lawyer, but a publisher at a competing firm. And we learned through a little bit of exposition, just in case you didn't get it, that Bob gave her bad advice so his firm could get the book and have the rights to Beverly's novel. I was actually shocked. I will confess, you know what? I love to make fun of Hallmark, and I've made a whole YouTube channel to do that. I can confess that I did not see this coming, and I was shocked. So you know what, Hallmark? Well played. So our girl runs out of the lunch place shocked, right? It is kind of disgusting. Like, this man was dating you in order to steal the rights to Beverly's book. And they had been dating for like a while at this point. I don't know. Creepy. Anyway, our girl runs out of the lunch place and there's like a carpet and like a lineup outside. It's very weird. And she just like drops her purse and all the stuff comes out of it. And there's this really awkward shot of her on the ground trying to like pick up her stuff, just like surrounded by legs. It's very strange. Moving along, the random child in this movie finds our girl and he says he needs a ride to the hospital, something to do with his mom, and he can't find Cooper and whatever. So she is gonna drive him to the hospital. And while the kid is in the car, he sees one of Beverly's books and he's like, oh, my mom loves her books because they make her feel happy and they help her escape from her terrible life. And they're stuck in traffic. So welcome to LA. Then we find out, finally, from this kid. So first, there's an important distinction. First, our girl says that she really likes Cooper, that she's really interested in Cooper, she's got a crush on Cooper, whatever. Then the kid lets it slip that he is not only a nice guy, but he's got money.
But you know, that's the great thing about Coop. He's both. He's a great guy and he's loaded.
Now, of course, Cooper is very attractive because he's loaded. Maybe love isn't dead. We get it to the hospital to find out the mom is not dying, she just has diabetes. So girl, yeah, milk it, whatever. We just sat through traffic to come see you, but that's fine. And outside the hospital, our girl finally asks out Cooper out on a date, and he's really quite shitty about it. But honestly, you know what, Cooper, good for you. Set boundaries. She only wants you for your money and your smoldering eyes. Since our girl lost the deal, the book has been taken to a different publishing company, the firm is going under, like everything is over. We cut to our girl packing up her apartment, and somehow Beverly shows up. I'm not totally certain how or why she knows the address, but she's there and it doesn't matter. And we get this like exposition scene, which I'm sorry, it is shot so badly. It's so awkward. It's weird. This is a movie, you guys. This is a professional movie. This scene looks terrible. But Beverly apologizes that yes, Bob has the rights to the next like 3 books, and she's like signed over her name. So like she can't write for any other publishing company, whatever. And she gives us this exposition about how she is not from LA. She's from, you know, some state that doesn't matter, Indiana or whatever. And she talks about her first novel, which was actually a spy thriller, not romance, that she wrote under her actual name, which is Margaret Buns. I love it. And to finish off this whole like exposition, character development, touching but ugly scene, Margaret, aka Beverly, gives our girl the original manuscript to that spy thriller novel that she wrote under her original name, which is not signed off to Bob. Evil Bob. Bob and his evil publishing company. Now, after letting Cooper stew for a while, the kid lets it slip finally that our girl did like Cooper before she found out that he had a lot of money. Now, could this kid have told Cooper earlier? Yes, absolutely. But the kid loves a bit of drama, and so do I. So Cooper now understands, like, when she was asking him out, it was because she liked him and not his money. Like, whatever, okay, sure. So he's like trying to find our girl. He calls the office, and there's this really funny scene with like a receptionist or whatever.
Yeah, hi. Natalie Holland, please?
Miss Holland no longer works here.
Well, do you know where she is? I'm a friend of hers from the apartment building.
Oh.
Just a very strange line delivery. But of course, our girl is not at the office because everybody's shutting down. She's in a limo going to the airport, and she's reading the manuscript, and she can't stop reading it. It's so good. But one thing that stood out to me is like, you have single-handedly shut down this publishing firm, and yet they are giving you a limo in LA traffic to go to the airport. That seems like a really misuse of funds. And she does actually get on the plane. So she's on the plane, on the tarmac, she's still reading the book, and the plane is delayed, naturally. So Cooper's trying to get to the airport as fast as possible. He ends up taking the taco truck. For some reason, it's not important. And when he gets to the airport, there's like some random woman with a clipboard, and he's like asking about a flight, and it has taken off. But surprise, our girl got off the plane. Why? Because the book was so good. She didn't get off the plane for Cooper. She got off the plane because the book is so good and she wants to try and publish it. But it doesn't matter because love is in the air. He kisses her. He blocks the camera. I don't know if he was supposed to do that. And she says this line about one of the characters in the book, and he is so uninterested, it just made me cackle.
I just read the most amazing book. I found Alfonso.
Okay.
Oh my God, girl, he doesn't care. So we jump ahead in the future and we find out that they've made a new publishing company with Cooper's help because yes, he is loaded, and they're going to publish Beverly, aka Margaret's spy thriller under her original name. And it looks like it's a big hit and everybody's happy. And the cover of this book looks like somebody made it in MS Paint. I couldn't believe it. But of course, Cooper does his sexy eyes and they kiss and the movie is over. Thank God. Now for Hallmarks, I have 3 ratings: chemistry, plot, and overall enjoyment. So for chemistry, I'm gonna give it 3 out of 5. Our girl really tries. And there is like some level of chemistry, but because Cooper does the weird sexy eyes so much and he's so passive aggressive throughout this whole thing, it's just like a little bit awkward. But our girl really tries. And to be honest, I've seen worse. So what does that tell you? For plot, so we have like 2 major plots, right? The plot with Beverly and the book editing and like dealing with a really difficult boss, I would say 5 out of 5, sure, like it's decent. But because we have the secondary plot of like, you can't date a poor person. I'm gonna say 3 out of 5 for overall plot. And for overall enjoyment, I'm gonna say 3 out of 5. It's definitely not as padded as some Hallmark movies. Like some of them just drag on. This didn't feel like it dragged on as much. There's like a lot going on, but it is not super memorable. And it's probably one of those Hallmarks that give me a couple weeks and I'll forget this ever existed. And in that moment, I will know peace. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have a Hallmark that you'd like me to watch, please leave a comment down below. Definitely check out this review of a terrible Valentine's Hallmark. I had so much fun and I lost a bit of my soul in the process. But as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, bye!